35.40%. As you can see right there on the screen, the market capitalization stood at 55.4 trillion naira. We saw selling pressures on UBA access score as well as Transcore. Meanwhile, on the money market, liquidity remained constrained following the settlement of the Treasury bills auction. FGN local bonds market was calm on Thursday with attention on the bills market, while the Eurobond market remained bullish despite the FOMC minutes. Now, let's talk about the Naira. The Naira has been on a free fall in the last few months, and the end, I don't know when we see the end of this. We saw that the Naira fell to 1,571 Naira, 31 kobo to $1 at the NAFEM. And the parallel market is going for about 1.8. Yesterday, I think I heard about 2,000 Naira, and I'm wondering, how did we get here? But I think we all know how we got here. The question now is, do we have what it takes to get out? And what policies do we have right now to get us out of this? The monetary policy meeting of the Central Bank of Nigeria will be next week. It will begin on Monday. And then on Tuesday, hopefully, we will hear from Cardoso and his team. Of course, Cardoso and other members of the MPC have been confirmed. So by Monday and Tuesday, they will meet. The MPR is currently standing at 18.75%. We are expecting that there will be an upside to the rates. And when interest rates increase, that means the cost of loans will also increase. But the Central Bank of Nigeria, or the MPC this time, will want to increase rates to check inflation, headline inflation at about 29.9%, and food inflation, the excess of 35%. So the question is, this economic challenge, this cost of living crisis that we're having in the country right now, do we have what it takes to get out of there? Do we have the political will to solve some of these issues? Where are the dollars? They say there's no supply of dollars, but there's still dollars in houses of some people. You know, so who is deceiving who? But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Let's quickly move over to U.S. Markets, where stock futures were slightly changed this morning. European market opened mixed after the pan-European benchmark hit a record high. For the Asian folks, markets advanced. We saw that the Chinese stocks extended gains while all prices declined. Brent is trading at $83.42 just before I came into the studio. As you can see right there, about $82. Of course, that's a volatile market. It goes up and down. Gold prices were aiming high for the first weekly gain in 3 weeks. As you can see, it's down about 0.26%. Silver is trading for $22. Steel, I'm particularly interested in seeing how much steel does every day, because now we have a Minister of Steel Development, and I hope that he also watches the price. But hey, where are we in that sector? And that is one space that we can actually develop. All right, that's it. On the markets, we will take a break now to launch our fun business segment. Of course, today we will be taking a light-hearted approach to the serious topic of money as we hit the streets to quiz Nigerians on what money means to them. Have you really taken a sit back and reflect? What does money mean to you really? Take a listen.
Without money, this life will not be sweet. And when you have the money excess, the life will not balance because there will be, fear of armed robbery and other things. So money is good and money is bad. Money is trouble, yes.
Wow. I feel money is a necessity. Yeah, it's something we need in our day-to-day activity, day-to-day life. So that's why I feel money is something that will make us keep on going daily.
I don't think anybody can survive without money because there's no way. There are things you need. You definitely need that. Without money, you cannot. So money is a necessity, yeah. It's something you need to survive.
Okay, they say money is the root of all evil, but to me is that if your conscience, your mind is pure,
Africa, with a population of 1.3 billion people and an abundant, arable land, struggles with food security despite having 60% of the world's uncultivated land. Population growth has outpaced agricultural production, leading to increased undernourishment. To address this, the African Development Bank has launched Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zones Initiative. That's the SAPZ initiative. The African Development Bank says this program aims to boost food production and turn Africa into a net food exporter through partnerships with development partners. The FDB is investing in agro-industrialization projects across the continent, such as the Nigeria SAPS program. And this government and private sector-led initiative is expected to transform the agricultural value chain. To provide further insight into this initiative, Professor Oyebanje Oyeyinka, Senior Special Advisor to the African Development Bank President, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, will be joining us, but that will be after this short video. Take a listen.
To fully unlock the potential of Nigeria's agriculture, more needs to be done to promote and support the agribusiness sector. Transforming agriculture must start with recognizing that agriculture is a business, a wealth-creating sector, not just a way of life. Unlocking wealth in agriculture requires the provision of appropriate technologies to boost productivity, development of agricultural value chains, financial structure to support agricultural value chains, and investments in infrastructure to unlock investments by food and agribusinesses. That is why the African Development Bank has launched the development of Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zones, SAPZs.
All right, welcome back. My guest is joining me right now. He is Professor Oyebanje Oyeyinka, Senior Special Advisor to the president of the African Development Bank on industrialization. He joins me from Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Prof, good morning, and it's nice to see you again today.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Glad to be on your program.
Yes, fantastic, and it's good to have you. Now, let's get started with this. Prof, can you just simply explain what the SAPZ initiative is for some people that are just getting to know about the term today, or getting to make them understand what the initiative is all about?
Thank you very much, Nancy. You know, we have several challenges in agriculture. As Dr. Adesina, what just now had just said, a lot of them border on lack of coordination from end to end of the value chain of agriculture. So the whole idea of the special agro-industrial processing zone is to solve this problem, where, for example, we have farmers on the one hand, and then we have households at the end of that chain, and factories that process agricultural products on that side, and we have markets. In between, there's always several gaps. Gaps of infrastructure, gaps of human capital, gaps in all kinds of things. Factories to process those products, raw materials to high-value products. So what the SAPZ does is to set in a structure, a structural arrangement whereby we connect farmers to input producers into factories. We connect them to their markets. So the special agro zone sets out to provide those infrastructure that is necessary, including transportation where there is none. And for the most part in our country, there's a huge deficit of that, where, for example, a particular farm doesn't have an irrigation system, where, for example, you have farmers who are low-skilled and operating at suboptimal productivity levels. So the SAPZ sets out to raise productivity of farmers, to equip them with the right skills, to operate at a level consistent with what we have in the world. Agriculture for Africans had always been like a way of life. People just scrap the bottom. They live on the farm. They just eat. And for the most part, they eat and they die. What the SCPs wants to do is to raise agriculture to the level where it is a big business. And by the way, among all the manufacturing sectors, if you look at what we call the ISIC classification, International Standard Industrial Classification, the food system has the biggest value, over $12 trillion globally.
Okay.
And Africa, from what we know, by 2030, for example, we are going to be, the food system value in Africa will be about $1 trillion. So if we don't do this and be a big player in this space, we'll continue to import what others produce. We'll continue export.
Oh, the only detergent that keeps me bright and fresh. Wala bata lokaci a wurin wanki. Viva mafi inganci. Ito da sakwa hirin na tinyo mere viva. Chiri viva. Maswa koko atowo renu do viva. Viva, oh viva. Ina sum viva. Obu mwiche viva. Opero viva titila. Viva, oh viva. Ina sum viva. Obu mwiche viva. Opero viva titila. Viva, oh viva. Ina sum viva. Obu mwiche viva. I love my viva forever.
Nigeria, because I know we'll come later to the engagement with states and all of that, but I'm also particularly interested in the pace of work.
No, thank you. So for the Nigeria and many of the other African countries, we actually began a big push in 2019. As you know, whenever you are constructing a new and complex multi-sector arrangement, it takes time. Sometimes it's new to people. You face institutional barriers. you face all manner of things. So we started with a lot of advocacy, meeting with all kinds of actors within the system that you call stakeholders. We met with big business, we met with government offices in the design of this structure. And in arriving at all of the commodities that are going to be processed, it was fully democratized. We called commissioners of agriculture, finance, and so forth into a room to agree on what should be done in their state. So the time taken for us has been important. Of course, you will wish that we took, we could do this faster. It was to ensure that we have a proper structure in place, the proper institutional arrangement in place. And so we're able to achieve this first phase of 8 states, 8 zones in those times. And we are there now.
Okay, what's the progress report now? How many states do you have in Nigeria, and how many countries across Africa?
So across Africa, we have about 11 countries. We are in about 25, 26 zones. We have raised close to $2 billion across those countries. In Nigeria, which is the biggest SAPZ, we are in 8 zones, 7 states and the Federal Capital Territory. We, as you know, is Kano, Kaduna, FCT, Kwara, Ogun, Ondo, Cross River, and Imo states. But beyond that, we now have 27 new states that have also now applied in the last 1 year to join the SAPZ train.
Okay. How much is this? How much is required to catalyze this? Because I also know that the last time you talked about, you've been in Nigeria a few times. You're currently in Ibadan, your state's capital. You were in Abuja just a few days on Tuesday, isn't it? At the at the event on Tuesday. So you've been going up and down across Africa and across the states states in Nigeria to be able to actualize this. I know, and I've also heard from you that the last time, in terms of funding, about $520 million or so.
$40 million.
Or has it increased? Has it increased from that now? How much do we have in terms of funding? And what proportion of this funding are coming from different partners?
So you use the word catalyze, and that's the correct terminology, actually. We raised $540 million, divided almost equally among our 3 partners, EFDB, Islamic Development Bank, IFAD, and Africa Go Together Fund across that. But we also have other partners now that are contributing in terms of both national and international, working with us non-monetary contribution. So across the 8 zones, we have $540 million. Catalytic funding, I call it, catalytic finance. What that means is that each of these states will now be able to find a partner that will bring 2 things. One is their own equity to join them, and also to help these countries reach global market. Because we have learned from the past. We have learned from past experience by government. You know about TINAPA, all of those things that government zones didn't work very well. So that informed the design of this SAPZ. What we have done is to ensure that we call it government enabled, that is government catalyzed. The government take the loan to start building the basic infrastructure, and then we bring in private sector actors who will be the drivers of the zone. Beyond building the zone, you have your EPC contractor that will build the zones. You also need the critical thing, actually, about the success of a zone is that you now have anchor tenants, those who will populate that particular zone. So we expect that each of those states will do this in a way that is consistent with global practice to ensure that each of their zone is inhabited by global manufacturing, both national and also those from outside.
Okay, so let's take it from there, Prof. The $540 million...
Single digit, several years of moratorium. When
the single digit is how much?
About 3%.
Okay.
we are now able to attract private sector actors into those zones.
Now, let's take a look at the involvement of states in this project, because SABs will be located across states. You said that 7 states plus the FCT, of course, but that there are 27 states that are showing, is it readiness? Because I know you have a readiness index.
Yes, they have shown interest.
Yes, they've shown interest. Now, if you put 7 states plus FCT, that is 8 plus 27, that's 35. Okay, so that means that I think all the states in Nigeria have shown interest to undertake this project. Is that it?
Yeah. So I think the fact that we have initiated this now has created a sense of competition, which is good. I think it's very good. In the first phase, a lot of states were in this sit-down-look mode. They weren't sure. People tell you, oh, yeah, it's so complex, we are not sure whether it's going to work. But now we've shown that it's going to work. So we have this onrush of several states coming to us, and we are very happy about that. So I think only maybe one state has not applied, but we hope to work with every state.
Okay. Yeah. So what will be the involvement of states in all of this for those that have shown interest, and eventually when those SABs are located in those states, what will be their input in getting this off the ground to be able to transform the agricultural sector? Because talk is cheap. It's one thing to talk, it's one other thing to execute. Doctor, we were together at an event on Tuesday, and a lot of things that came in the room was that of execution. That was one word I was listening to: execution, implementation, execution, implementation. So what will be the involvement of states in all of this, bearing in mind that we need political willingness from these guys? And number 2, governments come and go. From 2019 that project has been milled at the African Development Bank, we've seen various elections in different African countries. We're seeing the elections too in Nigeria, for example. So how will all of this also impact the transformation or, the eventual kickoff of this program?
So the states is where the action happens. And that has been our emphasis from the beginning. The federal government takes loan on behalf of the states, but at the end of the day, the states are the ones that will execute. As you know, a special economic zone, or the SAPZ as it is localizing economic activities within a space, and that space is the state. So the governments or the state governments in those states have, in fact, they have the most important role to play in terms of facilitating business, in terms of ease of doing business for all those who will come to their states. And the states have played actually a very important role, in fact, in getting to where they are now. The states were the ones who were able to submit all of the requirements for readiness index, for example, the feasibility study, environmental impact assessment. So they had to do that. They had to do all of those. It is based on the readiness, that readiness criteria that the states that we have now qualify. Now, beyond that, the states will now also be the one that will facilitate the hiring of the DBOs, we call them, design, build, operate contractors, who will be the state. So within each state, what we have done is to also support the states to put in place what we call the PIUs, project implementation units. Consists of about 5 or 6 individuals who will be oversighting the construction and hopefully later on transfer this to private sector. So the bank and its partners are financing those PIUs in every state. All of that is concluded. So they've been trained, there's been series of training, things that you don't see outside. And I must commend all the bank staff, all the partners who have done extremely great job behind the scene to put in place all of these institutional structures at the state level. So the state is where action happens. A zone, as I said sometimes, consists of 2 pillars, the sector and the space. So the space is that location of the zone. The sector is agriculture. In this case, agriculture is where Africa has comparative advantage. It is a shame that we are begging for food. And this is really the motivation for us, that Africa should not be begging for food, and Africa should be processing its own food. So we are motivated by this. For us, it's a mission. It's not a job, that this thing must happen. And I want to commend some of the state government. They've been extremely serious about it. Even some of the new 27 states, many of them are actually coming forward with things that we didn't see in the first phase. For example, in phase 1, many of them will tell you, oh, I don't have money for feasibility study, I don't have money for environmental. Now, we have states who are paying direct. They say, no, we're going to pay for it. We want to make sure we're in phase 2. So this is a remarkable development for us. Okay. And very encouraging to all the staff that are working on this.
Okay, Prof.
So we are looking forward to phase 2. Yes.
Okay, have the 7 states and FCT, have they crossed over from phase 1 into phase 2? And what does phase 1 entail?
Yes.
What does phase 2 entail? And okay, so all the 7 states and FCT have crossed into phase 2, but the 24 states you mentioned, are they still in phase 1?
So all the phase 1 states, we have finalized all the paperwork. Now, their job now, in fact, we start disbursing to them, is now to begin to get to the point of implementation. And we are hoping that by the middle of this year, we'll be seeing construction in all of these sites. Phase 2 are those who are now starting where the phase 1 people started. We've learned a lot of lessons, and we are confident that we don't have to spend another 3 years negotiating all of this.
That was why I asked that question earlier.
Yes.
Prof, how do you guys at the AFDB, African Development Bank, how do you and your colleagues, including even the president, monitor for accountability and transparency? Because we've also seen that some of the loans, if not many of the loans that are given, are not well accounted for, or the government just come and is a bit cosmetic. They do things cosmetic to be able to, tell people like you that they are working. But when you people leave and you leave back to your bases, things continue as it was earlier. So how do you ensure exactly monitoring and evaluation, transparency, and making sure that there's accountability of this? Because this is a loan actually, and now our money. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. No, Nancy, you're right. And this is why the ABB is the only triple-rated bank in Africa. We have very strong procedures. We have very strong due diligence process. And you can see that the way the SAPC is designed is to ensure that countries get value for their money. As I told you earlier, the loan here is catalytic. And what what the states, we all agree to it, is that the financing for construction will be what we call direct disbursement. The money goes to the contractor. You build, we inspect, you go to the next phase.
Okay.
So this is not money for the boys. It's not going to happen. So, and I believe that from what I have seen, the message has come across, and this is why it has taken 5 years, I can tell you stories upon stories. It's like running the gauntlet. It's like actually running a marathon. Every turn had its own hiccups and so forth, which we expect. Development is not a walk in the park. Development has its enemies. There are people who don't want development. There are people who don't want these kinds of things. But these are hard things that we must do. A country that doesn't produce is a poor country indeed. This is why Nigeria is where we are today. I don't know whether you read my book called From Consumption to Production.
Yes, Prof.
A country that doesn't produce.
I know of your book. Yes.
Yes. You suffer. You run into balance of payment crisis as we are now. So we want to ensure that the SAPC constitutes a pillar for industrialization for Nigeria and for Africa.
Now that takes me to the next question, Prof. Sorry to cut you short. That takes me to the next question. That how does this SAPC address the challenge of the value chain in the agricultural sector? When the president of the AFDB was minister here, he popularized what we call agribusiness. And I also know that this is also part of why he created this. So how does this address the value chain challenges in agriculture around farmer, around markets, around clusters. Now, I would like you to break it down in terms of even farmers. We have smallholder farmers across Africa. There is subsistence farmers that are really feeding us in Africa. So how do you really address granular intervention to these farmers? That's one. Across the market, supply chain infrastructure, roads and other infrastructure comes into it, as well as even clusters. So how does this initiative address that value chain challenge?
No, thank you. So this is the, when you started, you asked me, what does it do? So this is what it does. I
want you to cast, yes.
Yeah, let me break it down.
Yes, exactly.
A value process has key pillars like actors. Who are the actors? At the beginning of the value chain, who are the actors? Farmers, small, medium, large. What do? They farm, they grow. What are their challenges, for example? The challenge for Africa has been low productivity. Where others are getting, for example, 8 tons per hectare for maize, we are getting 1. Where countries are getting 50,000 tons on a particular acreage of farm, we get 5,000. So one of the major issues, so first the actor, second their actions. The action is to cultivate, and the cultivation here has been poor because of lack of technology, lack of inputs, lack of fertilizer, lack of mechanization, lack of skills. So we redress that. So we focus on these key actors, smallholders, middle, large. Number 2 is that we focus on what is their challenges, what are the gaps. The gaps are just spelled out. So we try to bridge that. Now, what are the interactions? Connection to the next phase. Where should they be going? You either go straight to the market or you process in a factory. You could sell your raw produce locally or you could process them. But what we find is that African farmers have a huge post-harvest losses because they don't have infrastructure, they don't have transportation, cold rooms, pre-processing, for example, to preserve their goods and farm produce. So we bridge that. What do we do that in the farming community? We build what we call agri-transformation centers. And this is the unique thing about the SAPZ. It's different from your special, where you just have a factory. The big component, another big is we call it agri-transformation center. So there, you have all those things, pre-processing, cold rooms, all of those, where aggregation, where the farmer, for example, we help them to ensure that they get value for their money.
Okay.
But more importantly, we also supply them with inputs, high variety of seed, and so forth. And then before you now go to the next phases.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the partnership with MOFI, Ministry of Finance Incorporated. You were there at the event, of course. You made a presentation. That was on Tuesday. I listened to your presentation. I've also read your presentation, by the way. So speak to us about the partnership with MOFI, Ministry of Finance Incorporated. Many Nigerians don't even know what Ministry of Finance Incorporated means, but just quickly speak to me about that, Prof, because I have other 2 questions to ask before we end the program.
Yeah. No, Nancy, thank you. So MOFI hold Nigerian assets, and I want to thank MOFI colleagues for this partnership that we have. What we agree with MOFI is that they need to be part of what we call the National Alliance for Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone. We have BOI, we have MOFI, we have NSI, we have others who have. But what MOFI is going to do in this partnership is to fund feasibility studies. We enter into an agreement to do project preparation finance. And that was the MOU that we signed the other day, because it has always been one of the obstacles. I cited a study by the World Economic Forum that only one out of projects in Africa goes from conception to full project implementation. And this is not really something new In fact, globally, you find only between 15 to 25% of all projects conceived ever get realized into the market. You know, whenever you conceive something, it's basically just an invention in your office, on your laptop. Until it gets to the market, it doesn't become an innovative product or process. So MOFI is going to be working with us to fund some of those states that require financing for feasibility study, for SCR. And MOFI also, hopefully, is going to be an equity shareholder in some of these zones.
Okay.
So this is the what we sign with them.
Okay. How does SAPS really fit into the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement? You know, I don't know if you and your colleagues thought about that at the AFDB.
Yeah.
Then secondly, is this SAPS program, is there a timeline for it? Because I saw something like 2028, you know, so I would like to know, is there a timeline and is there like a takeoff here? Then the third question is around, are there specific crops we're looking at? Because there are crops that are economic crops that can actually make Africa huge billions of dollars. So are there specific crops or even livestock that the African Development Bank and its partners are looking at? And any other thing you want to say, Prof? So you have about 3 minutes to shoot, then we end the show.
Oh, thank you. So when you look at all the regions that have been successful, where you've had rapid economic growth, Asia, Europe, Latin America, one of their tools is that they have a common market. Regionalism is a key pillar for success. Trade among ourselves in Africa has been very poor. So SAPZ will hopefully also be able to help us to trade across Africa. You know, if a country has something, we can trade together. We can export to one another. But we're not going to be exporting raw materials. I remember Dr. Adesina making a joke, if we keep on exporting raw materials to each other, we just export poverty to each other. So we want to make the African Continental Free Trade Area a manufacturing pole. That should be the dream, that should be the vision. If I ever have my way, I will put that manufacturing into that acronym. Second thing you were asking, is there a timeline?
Yes.
Yeah, for us, we want to do it like tomorrow. You can build a zone within 18 months from the experiences we have seen. So we hope that with all the cooperation from all the states, we can move very fast. Once they've chosen their EPC contractor, we can move extremely very fast. And you can also do them in stages. If you are aiming to have 30 companies, you can do the first stage where you have 10 companies occupying the space. You can have 15. So it's the possibilities are all there for us to experiment.
The last question
and I can't remember the last question.
Crops and livestock.
Yes. Yes. So as we said, yeah, all of the 4 areas are, you know, when you talk of agribusiness, there are 4 big areas. One is crop, forestry, livestock, and fisheries. All of them are included in the SAPZs. So they are all encompassing.
Okay, why I asked that question was perhaps if the AFDB have taken a look at where we have comparative advantage, actually, to perhaps kick off with that. That was why I asked that question.
No, this is Africa has compared. You know, we have 65% of all arable land in the world right now, Africa. And as I told you earlier, if the agribusiness in Africa is going to be $1 trillion in 2030, you know, this is double Nigeria's GDP alone. If you take any state in Nigeria, you have 3 major crops that they can process and feed the whole of Africa. So our twin goal is food security and also to process, add value, and export to diversify the Nigerian economy.
Okay.
So every state in Nigeria has something. You go to the north, the south, everyone knows. So we have that, and we have to use it to solve the present crisis that we are in. So that's our mission.
All right.
That's our vision.
Thank you very much, Prof, because this conversation is needed now, especially as we have a food crisis in Nigeria. that exacerbated the cost of living crisis, as it were. So discussions like this are very necessary, and I hope that when you engage with the politicians and those that take decisions, you explain to them the urgency and make them see, in case they are not seeing, through their political lenses. But we hope they do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I've been speaking with Professor Yebanji Oyeyinka, the Senior Special Advisor on Industrialization to the President of the African Development Bank. That's Dr. Akinwumi Adeshina. That's it for today, and it's a wrap for this week. I'll see you all again on Monday, bright and early. Do the best you can be and do the change that you want to see. I am Nancy Naji. Have a fantastic weekend.
A giant of Africa once said, life is good when you stream. So when you hit the play button, laugh away your struggles and fill the air with the chants of your favorite team. Download the new Showmax app and subscribe for 1,200 Naira only. Showmax, streaming for Africa.
Hello and welcome to AIT's special Town Hall Forum, a program where burning issues affecting Nigeria's social, political, and economic development are dissected for solutions. My name is Nancy Naji. Our Town Hall Forum today, we shall deliberate on the cost of living crisis. As you can see, red. Hello, Chola.
Yeah, good to have you.